Hello and welcome back. My name is Stacy Couch and my website is wildgratitude.com. I am a certified shamanic practitioner and I'm here today to talk to you more on the topic of soul retrieval. A lot of you have given a good deal of feedback and also let me know that you've really enjoyed the series on soul retrieval. So first of all, I want to thank you for tuning in and for also getting in touch and letting me know your thoughts. This week, I would like to talk about an aspect of soul retrieval that I'm actually a little hesitant, if you can't tell, a little hesitant to go into because it's contradictory to what most of us know about soul retrieval. We typically think of soul retrieval as going back and getting parts of our soul, parts of our personal power from our past. This is a very conventional way of looking at soul retrieval. It's very socially acceptable, and it does seem to ring true for a lot of people. It seems to really pan out well for a lot of people in their healing process. So what I'm talking about today is not going to negate at all that perspective or view on soul loss. Those of you who know me know that I speak about things in layers or levels, and I give multiple perspectives. I like to turn over the stone, as I say. So go and look at something from the other side or from another angle, or switch to another parallel world or perspective or layer of seeing things, depending on how you look at this. I have a lot of clients, to be honest, that are very well along the way in the healing process. And this happens for inevitably along the healing path where we come to a point of saying, okay, I'm done. I've really dredged up and looked through enough of my past. And I've healed it. I've released things. I've embraced things. I've given my past an audience for long enough. And now I'm done. It's over. I'm done. I'm going to cut my anchors, cut my ties to the past, and I'm going to move on now into the present. I'm going to be fully embodied here, and I'm going to deal with what shows up in the now, rather than constantly looking back in my history to find the reason for why I am the way I am right now. I do not want to at all negate the viewpoint of, or the process of going into our past and reviewing it and healing it and figuring out how it has contributed to who we are right now. It's absolutely a necessary part of the healing process of the spiritual path. That's where it begins oftentimes, the spiritual path, especially for us these days and with as much help as we have in the self-help arena. That's really when they say mind, body, spirit, a lot of it is the past that we're going into and looking at and healing. So I don't want to negate that process. I want to absolutely embrace that process, the great amount of richness and healing and all of that can come from dealing with the demons that reside in our past, retrieving parts of ourselves that we've left in our childhood or in other parts of our adulthood. I work with people doing that all the time. It's a really valuable process. This isn't to negate that. What I'm going to talk about today is actually to augment that or to show the next step, depending on your perspective. There is so much that can come out of soul retrieval after you've decided, I'm done with my past. Soul retrieval is not just about going and getting parts of yourself from your childhood. Just because the soul parts appear as a child doesn't mean that they are from your childhood, that is the cause of the soul loss. It could mean that is a childlike aspect of who you are, that vulnerable inner child. That's just a manifestation of the soul part. So let me tell you the benefits of soul retrieval for someone who has really decided to be in the now, has really decided they're done with healing their past. They're done with this whole healing process, but they want to continue on in terms of self-awareness and self-knowledge and moving forward on the spiritual path. In a soul retrieval, you can get back aspects of yourself that you've been neglecting. So even if you're living in the here and now, there's parts of yourself you have to admit that you're not paying attention to. that might be good to do so. And so a soul retrieval can definitely highlight our blind spots where we're not paying attention to parts of ourselves that we should be to further our evolution. Another thing is fears. On this spiritual path, as we're doing our self-awareness and self-reflective work, we all come across fears that we have that are irrational fears. And these are fears such as not wanting to be seen, fears of not being useful, fears of not being loved, fears of not being enough. All of those kind of fears, we don't have to go digging up in your past to find the source of those fears. They are just here. They're irrational. There often is no reason or cause and effect to them. And even if you do find a reason in your past, it never feels like the full story. There's still like this unsatisfied part of ourselves that's saying, well, yeah, I can find this incident in my childhood, but even when I go and heal that and work through forgiving that and alleviating that, I still feel this fear and I can't. There's still something about it that I can't get rid of. Soul retrieval, part of the process of soul retrieval is mending that fragmented self, is clearing out, transforming, what I call writing the medicine. That's write with R-I-G-H-T, the medicine. So helping transmute, release, clear out those myths. That's a part of the soul retrieval process. So it works on that irrational, energetic, unseen level in the world of symbolism, in the spirit world, and really helps to give you the opportunity to break free of that fear. Because part of what binds us to that fear is needing to find a reason for it. And when we can surrender all reason into this shamanic healing process, we really get an opportunity to be broken free of the fear. Another thing that you can get on a soul retrieval that can help you in the here and now on your spiritual path are gifts that you may not have realized about yourself. And I think that we all feel like we have a pretty good inventory of our treasure trove of talents, gifts, skills. We think we have a pretty good finger on that. We have a pretty good ability to express that. But ultimately, when we tap into something larger than ourselves, when we tap into our larger selves, we find that there are a countless number of gifts and talents that we have not even begun to comprehend yet. And if you've had the experience of coming across, of realizing all of a sudden, oh wow, I'm actually kind of good at that, then you know what I'm talking about. Just one of those realizations will bring you into the knowing of there are so many of those gifts out there. And a soul retrieval is meant to bring those gifts back to you, the ones that will help you at this time. And any other things such as we have, when we're working on the spiritual path and looking at growing in our self-awareness, we really get caught up in our minds, looking at all of that negative self-talk, that repetitive self-talk that goes on. And we get caught up in certain ways of seeing ourselves or talking to ourselves. And a soul retrieval can really help shift your perspective in that way, can take something and turn it on its head and give you a new way of viewing something or a new way of explaining something to yourself, a new affirmation that is incredibly powerful, that's custom tailored, that speaks directly to your soul and really helps you move more into your personal power. So in the end, soul retrieval is not about going into your past. At this level where I'm talking today, soul retrieval is not about going into your past. And ultimately, it's never about finding someone or something to blame, finding the reason for your illness or your current situation of being in a fearful state or in a powerless state. Soul retrieval ultimately is about finding where you are other than here. And we see it traditionally as where we are in our past other than here. But it can be where we are in our dreams other than here. It can be where we are in our fantasies other than here. It can be where we are in our misconceptions other than here. It doesn't have to be this linear timeline. I mean, ultimately, we know that in the spirit world that we're working in a shamanic journey, we're working outside of time and space. There's no time there. Either everything's happening at once, or at least it's cyclical. You might be able to at least agree with me on that. And rather, this straight line is a human construct. It's an old construct that gets us trapped in our past, actually. And so to let go of our past, we have to come into either circular or simultaneous understanding of time. So if you're at that point, then you realize that still some parts of you can be elsewhere, that you're still fragmented. Even though you've worked with your past, healed that, moved on from that, learned how to release and not constantly be mining your past for reasons for why you are the way you are now, or life is the way it is now, still doesn't mean that you don't feel parts of yourself missing, that you don't seek gifts or talents that you haven't yet tapped. And these are all things that soul retrieval can help with. So ultimately, soul retrieval is about mending the fragmented self. It's not about mending the past or finding reasons for things or any of that. It's about mending the fragmented self. And if we approach it that way in our interpretation, we can get a lot of information that helps us in the here and now, that helps us in our spiritual path where we are right now. So hopefully that all makes sense. It's kind of been my new mantra lately. Hopefully that all makes sense, because I'm talking about things that aren't necessarily rational and that aren't necessarily on this linear cause and effect, one thing causes one effect type of thinking anymore. We're in a different place now where there's so many influences coming in. There's so many sides to the stone as we turn it over, so many views and perspectives. So it's worth moving to another angle and looking in at something from another perspective. I hope you enjoyed this perspective today. I look forward to staying in touch. I offer shamanic healing, especially soul retrieval, and you can learn more about that on my website at wildgratitude.com. I do that long distance for those of you that aren't aware of that, which means that I work over the phone. Since this work is outside in time and space, I'm able to deliver the healing to you via a shamanic journey and as if you were in the same room with me. I have people that I've worked with that have done both in-person and long-distance soul retrievals with me, and they report they find no difference between the two methods, that they both have the equal amount of impact and healing in their lives. So anywhere you are in the world, actually, I am glad to work with you. And if you liked this video, as always, please give it a thumbs up, and please post comments in the section below, and I will be sure to get back to you. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Have a great day.